Hey, everybody. Welcome to Art of the Apocalypse. I'm Rob Saylor. I teach at Christian Theological Seminary in Indianapolis, and I'm here with my collaborator in crime on the Art of the Apocalypse, Kevin Clay. You all may know him as the man behind Orthodox Outcast, that's on a variety of social media platforms, as well as a number of other things. Today, Kevin and I are talking with someone that we've really been looking forward to this conversation, and I've been looking forward, Christian, to getting a chance to talk with you again. It was about a year ago in Dallas, Texas, just north of Dallas, Texas, where Christian's barbershop, Redemption Barbershop, is. And if any of you are anywhere near the Dallas area, you've got to go get a haircut at Redemption Barbershop. But commercial number one, there are going to be a lot of commercials in this episode. Commercial number one, Redemption Barbershop.
We'll take it.
But I'm sitting in Redemption Barbershop and I'm digging on Christian's art. We're talking. I was actually on my way to up to St. Herman's Monastery in Platina, and we were talking about that. And Christian, you were telling me, "Oh, I'm just about to do this thing." You know, we were talking about kind of black metal, we were talking about art, we were talking about Orthodox art, and he's like, "I'm just about to do this thing." And I think it was about 2-3 weeks later that I see on my social media the birth of 13th Vigil. And
yeah,
a lot of you, if you're on this Art of the Apocalypse page, you know about 13th Vigil. We're going to hear a lot more about it here in a few minutes, but it's been a wild year. So, man, I just want to start by thanking you. Thanks for taking the time to talk with us. So good to see you. But then tell us about this year you've had. Tell us where 13th Vigil came from, how it's going. How's it been this last year?
Well, I kind of started, of course, Death to the World, the OG, you know, Father John. I mean, in my opinion, Father John has the coolest stuff. Like, but he's kind of, it's more punk oriented, you know, and I wanted to do, because I listen to black metal and stuff like that. So I wanted to do something more along those lines as far as design and stuff like that goes. And basically just kind of, I guess, get orthodoxy out there where, no light has really been. Kind of not make it something cool or try to do anything like that. I just, after I converted, I felt like people needed to know the truth, especially in America, especially in the South, and especially in the metal community. Because everybody's got such a bad taste in their mouth from Southern church and hypocrisy and stuff like that. And so I wanted people to know the truth about the true church, and what I had found and what I was, beginning to grasp. I was like, everybody needs to know about Orthodoxy all the time. But I didn't want to take the same evangelical approach that everybody was sick of, that everybody's deconstructing from, as we speak. So I just took the designs that I knew I liked and kind of combined them with the truths of Orthodoxy that I had found, and kind of came up with 13th Vigil.
How's it been going? I mean,
it's going good. It goes pretty good. We're not super busy, I'm not in it to make money. I think I make like $2 or $3 a shirt, if that. Like, so it's not really a thing for me to gain any capital on, so I get sales from all over the world, but it's not a whole lot, you know. But my designs, they keep growing and getting different with the more I learn, and obviously the more wretched I know I am. My designs keep changing. Like, oh, I'm worse. I'm worse than I was a year ago.
that's the progression. That's the progress year to year.
Right. But glory to God, because now, you know, it's grace that we can know our own sins. So
Amen.
It's progressing in a good way.
Well, I have a question is, a lot of people assume that what you're doing is evangelism, which it is, even if you weren't intending to do so, because you're expressing the Orthodox Christian faith, which gives, an opportunity for people to, receive, the change of life and grace that's offered in that, or at least be confronted with that. But a little bit of even what Rob and I, the conversations that we had privately that kind of led, to this, kind of concept of art of the apocalypse was what's called like a beauty first, but you could even say an art first approach. I guess you could say to evangelism, but my sort of question is, how much of it really informs your own faith? Because for the artist, the creative process itself is kind of that fuel of life, right? That's what kind of keeps the artist alive. Of course, they want a response, right? They instinctively crave an audience, like a child, going down at the playground, looking at their parents, watch me, right? I mean, they would enjoy playing on the playground, even without an audience, but there's something, so that's the artist too, is the child at play. But the artist is also like the child that says, Mom, Dad, watch me, right?
Right.
So my question is, how much is it not just evangelism, but really an expression of you living this Orthodox faith? Because as an artist, that's what gets overlooked by non-artists, is that we just instinctively come to something new, like a spiritual conversion, and we just want to create, right? We just want to express, we just want to do something. We can't do nothing.
Right.
So do you see it that way? Or in what way do you see it as really just living out your own Orthodox faith in the context of just kind of like just who you are, and not necessarily this calculated, like, I'm going to bring people to the church. That would be great. How much do you see it more of as a personal thing?
Mine was more of this is what I know how to do. And I had that childlike excitement. Like, I wanted to show Mom and Dad, like, look what I found. Right. And I did. But I wanted people to ask about I wanted people to see what it was on the shirts, and I wanted them to ask, what is that? And I think that was the basis of why I did it. Was one, my excitement in it, right. And two, that I wanted people to ask. And then it was my excitement that people actually liked it. Yes, being a metalhead for as long as I've been, the care if the majority of people like it or not, it's kind of, it doesn't really matter, Right. I was thankful that people did, but I kind of just wanted to put it out there.
Now, coming from metal, what do you see? Because you kind of were saying with the sort of the mentality of kind of, the metal scene, it seems to imply an attitude like not really concerned whether you like it or not, right? And so how does that mentality, the two questions would be, how do you see that being sort of similar, congruent with Orthodoxy, which I think it kind of goes without saying the way you put it. But the other thing is, what parts of the metal scene do you think need to be sort of taken in consideration of, you know, where it opposes orthodoxy or where orthodoxy kind of challenges? Where do you see orthodoxy in the metal scene being congruent, and where do you see it kind of being at odds for yourself?
A good friend of mine told me, they explained it really well. He's like, black metal is liturgical and orthodoxy is liturgical. And there are so many Orthodox Christians that do black metal, but they're not in your face like, hey, I'm a Christian. You have to know that before you listen to my music. They just take their faith and what they've learned and they put it in their art. And that's what I did.
You were the one that turned me on to Within Thy Wounds. Like, that's an example, right? Like,
Yeah.
you can listen to Within Thy Wounds and not know anything about the Orthodox background. But if you bring that kind of Orthodox frame to it, I mean, it's Holy Thursday, it's Good Friday, man. It's there.
And there's a lot where, you know, where we don't care a whole lot what people think, but you know, at the same time, you kind of have to curb that worldly attitude, because it can overlap into not caring about people, and that's you know, that's not what orthodoxy is. So you know, you have to have humility and love, and if you don't have that, then from what I learned, and you don't have squat. So a big part of not caring has gone from, you know, not caring completely about the people to, you know, not caring if they like Christianity or not, you know, and that part I don't care about. I mean, kind of just do whatever it is that we plan on doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, instead of just not caring, it's caring in the right kind of way. It's caring.
It's so hard for me to explain, because it switched, you know, because I used to not care, and I used to have so much pride and stuff, and I'm like, oh, I'm anti blah blah blah, and I'm anti blah blah blah, and now it's like after seeing the Holy Fathers and the martyrs and the saints, their life is like that, you know, and it's not like a sense of pride. It's not like a scene, you know, that they're following. It's they're following Christ, and and that became anti everything, you know, and it's death to the world. Like that's what happened, you know.
To me, that's one of the things I've always really appreciated about you, and is because, like, you think about Death to the World when it came out, a lot of the frame was like, oh, I used to be in this lifestyle and now I'm leaving it behind because I found this other thing. But I think in reality, I mean, some folks that's been the experience, but for a lot of folks, it's like, well, no, I still identify with like punk. I still identify with metal, but it's now I take all that energy and I put it in this direction. And and you seem like someone, like, you still really are in kind of, you're still a fan of black metal, and you're still like in the scene in a way, even with this new thing. And I don't know, does that seem right that like people do that in different ways?
You know, Father John said that, you know, it's the last true rebellion that it truly is, because, you know, when you're dealing with punk and when you're dealing with black metal and even more mainstream metal and stuff like that, you're dealing with people that they're already on the outside of society. They're already on the outskirts of stuff. You know, they don't want anything to do with normal society. They don't want anything to do with any of that stuff. And they're completely outside of it. And to me, orthodoxy was that final step, you know, into completely trying to remove myself from the world, and which was another reason why I started 13th Vigil, is because there's a continuation of being in the world, but there's a lie, you know, within that says, oh, you're not part of this, you know, you're not part of society anymore, you know, you're on the fringes, you're this, you're that, you're anti everything, but at the same time you're still part of the spirit of the age, you know, whereas orthodoxy is, you're not, you know, you're completely separated from the world, completely separated from the passions, from the spirit of the age, and from all that stuff. And I wanted people to know, like, you're already here, you know, almost like you already see the problems with the world, with the governments, with everything that you hate and that you don't like, you know, with even what people call the church and with what people call Christianity. Like, all that stuff is already hated, you know, and I wanted people to see that here's the truth, you know, and if you really want, then, like Father Seraphim Rose said, Christ is the only exit from the world. And I found it, and I grew up a metalhead in Protestantism and all that other stuff. So I wanted to kind of convey the best way I knew how, which is art. Like, here's the uncreated light. Here's the truth of uncreated light. You know, like, here's the words of Rhonda Frame. Here's, you know, Mother Gavrila. Here's all this stuff. Here's all these people. And I hoped that, and I still hope that people will see what I see, and they will look at these people's lives and the saints and the martyrs, and they will know that these people they left everything to follow and serve Christ. It's like orthodoxy is full of people and rich young rulers that actually sold everything they had and followed Christ. You know, it's not comfortable, and it's not wrapped around convenience or entertainment or any of that stuff. And I don't know, people need to know about it. Metalheads need to know about it, you know, because there's so much truth, you know, and it, for me, it was like, coming from Protestantism, it was like I was watching, you know, Christianity in this little bitty black and white TV, and then all of a sudden I come to Orthodoxy, and it's like 4K ultra Christianity. I'm like, oh, that's what this means. Like, oh, that's what this is. And every single hole I ever had in my faith got filled, and it was amazing. And it was the beauty of Orthodoxy that got me in first. I was watching black metal documentaries, and the image of a great Schema monk came up, and I was like, those are Christian symbols. Like, that's not a wizard. Like, those are Christian symbols, or whatever it was. That the people that put the picture up was like, these are Druid wizards. I'm like, yeah, no. So I looked it up, and come to find out that the New Testament church is still very much alive and well. And I was like, everybody needs to know, you know, but I didn't want to overpower, you know, people with like Christian bookstore t-shirts.
Yeah, say more about that. I mean, you were saying earlier, I was interested in what you said about how you didn't want to do it sort of the evangelicalism way. And I mean, we're not trying to throw shade or anything, but
Right.
it seemed like there really was like a difference in your mind. Can you say more about that?
It's not, I don't think it's bad to evangelize, you know, but I think that we should evangelize with our actions, you know, with the way we live, and not with a megaphone.
Mhm.
I mean, he said people will know you by your fruits, you know, and it was by people's fruits that I knew orthodoxy was real. You know, it was by reading the Holy Fathers and reading about their lives and all that stuff, like I said. So I wanted to make something that wasn't over the top, you know, super Christian cheese stuff.
Mhm.
Like I wanted something cool, or what I thought was cool, and then something that meant something to the person that bought it, and then it would raise questions, you know, for people that saw it. But I was hoping that the people would, you know, that saw it, like it would be an extension of whoever was wearing it, would be extension of their humility, their love. Like they're completely different than anybody I've ever encountered. You know, what is it? What is it? You
It's
know,
like
who is your own to a frame? Why does everybody on your shirt look like Santa Claus? Like
Right.
that. And I just wanted people to basically be curious about it.
Well, you're saying that black metal is liturgical.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what you're saying is that it's also iconographic.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think in terms of icons, right? Iconographic.
Mm-hmm.
So in metal or punk, you definitely don't want to use terms like branding and marketing, right? That sounds too mainstream. That sounds too self-conscious and sell out and this or that. But in reality, it's the same thing. It's because in every music subculture, there's a fashion that's attached to it, you know, and that's just a reality, you know, that people have to come to, you know, understand, especially when you get older, is that, yeah, we kind of dress the same, our album covers are the same, we present, there's a lot of unspoken rules. You do this, you don't do that. And when you think in terms of the people you want to please, the people you do care about what they think about you, it's your peers, right? And then every scene has to kind of deal with that level of authenticity or potentially hypocrisy or this or that. But my point here is just to show that every kind of musical kind of subculture has an iconography that's associated to it. And I think that's what we're doing when we put things on a t-shirt or we put out a zine.
Sorry.
That's all right. We do certain things is that that are associated with the scene that would come out of. I mean, that's the same thing within the church, right? And there's different even cultural settings that have a little bit different style of iconography, a different style of the way that they build and, you know, and decorate, you know, the church, their temples and this or that. And so that's really what we're doing. If we come from punk, we come from metal, is that we're bringing that aesthetic, right? That iconography. But the transition, the difference between like this evangelical approach is it's basically trying to steal from the mainstream secular culture and so-called Christianize it. And it just becomes horrendous because it's bad art, it's bad Christianity, it just becomes bad. And so I think the beauty of drawing from, in your scene, the black metal scene, it's like, we're already doing iconography, right? It's just associated with our music and our values and our ethic and this or that, some good, some bad, whatever, from an Orthodox perspective. And when you become Orthodox, you're just saying, you're just merging the two scenes in a certain sense, right? The two forms of iconography and going, especially from black metal, going, this is a pretty easy synthesis. Black t-shirt, It's not a wizard, it's a monk. Done, right? Black, white, red. And so I think that's just interesting. I mean, I never really thought about that way, in the sense of, yes, it's liturgical, but really it's iconographic. And I think that's just what we're naturally doing when we're merging kind of our music subculture with our Orthodox faith.
I think it was easy to kind of not super merge the two together, because the icon, the iconography in black metal is obviously ridiculously evil in secular black metal. But the aesthetic of orthodoxy is so old that it kind of predates all that stuff.
Right.
And when you understand, what death to the world means, when you understand why monks wear black, when you understand the meaning behind why a schema monk's robe is black and the symbols are bright white or bright red, then it gives a new understanding, and it kind of overpowers and overshadows anything that the world has to offer. And I just, over the short period of time in Orthodox, I'm learning that everything is a copy. Everything's a copy of what God has done, and everything's a copy of what the church has done. And like the candles and the art and all kinds of stuff that's associated with black metal has been done for so long before that by us. And you can't truly imitate it, so yeah, so I wanted to show people the truth.
Has your fandom as a black metal fan been impacted by Orthodox? I mean, you were saying some of the stuff, like some of the imagery is, you said, ridiculously evil, and you think lyrically and so on. And I'm not trying to be all like satanic panic, but sometimes some stuff does draw in really dark places.
Right.
Like, have you like come up with like kind of a rule for yourself of, oh, I'll be a fan of this kind of lyric or not this other kind, or does that shift around? What's that like for you?
I mean, I try to steer clear of the blatant satanic liturgical worship, because it's out there. So I got my favorites, and I listen to those. As far as like my friends and peers, I have like 3. I'm pretty much a hermit. Like I'd go to work, I go to the parish, and I come home and read and hang out with my boy, and man, that's really about it. And so there's not a lot of being in a scene. As far as black metal, I like atmospheric black metal a lot. But usually, I mean, if it's up to me, I'm either listening to blues or bluegrass or like Orthodox choirs and chants. I have a good friend of mine at the parish I go to, and we were talking just yesterday, and he's like, I have a giant list of artists who are Orthodox that make black metal. So I'm looking forward to his reply with this long list, because it would be cool to have, you know, more Orthodox black metal to listen to. I kind of I love secular black metal, but at the same time, it gets on my nerves because everybody is trying to like out Satan each other.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know. You can't take it too serious, because it gets pretty rough. Like I've seen covers with like big horned sheep on them, and it's like Baphomet. I'm like, that's not even a goat. Like,
yeah.
It's bad. It's bad.
Well, one
This
of
may
the
be
big,
totally rationalizing, but yeah, you and I have talked about this. Like, I really love like Wolves in the Throne Room, you know, and it's
Yeah.
like they're coming from like kind of a pagan place, a druid, but they're talking about nature, right? And maybe this is pure rationalization, but I'm like, okay, well, God created nature. Nature is good. We don't worship nature in any sort of pagan sense, but like when I listen to Wolves, it's like, and it is atmospheric, and so large parts of it sort of puts me in that kind of meditative state, not unlike the liturgy. So I think for a lot of us who listen to metal, we have these kind of like rules that we set up in our heads. It's like, okay, nature imagery, not Satan imagery. Atmospheric, because then it's kind of meditative. That's I think for a lot of fans who are trying to square that with Christianity, those are the kind of rules we make for ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely stuff that I'll listen to, and like I said, definitely stuff I won't. I like Wolves on the Throne Room a lot. I like Grimm of Siberian atmospheric black metal. And then there's a Bandcamp is a wealth of black metal knowledge and music, and sometimes I'll get in a Bandcamp hole, and I'll just be looking through all the stuff, you know, and listening to all the stuff. You can almost feel when stuff is super evil.
Yeah, you can. You really can. There's like there's something about, you know, sonically or whatever. It's just a feeling, but it's real.
okay.
Yes, sir.
One of the questions, I like the way you put it, as it's not necessarily the merging of the two cultures, but that there's this sense that when a person who's from the black metal scene encounters orthodoxy, obviously by God's grace, they're like, oh, that's actually what we're trying to do, right? That's what we're tapping into. You found the real thing. And that's for every scene. I mean, even with the early Christians, they're coming from, you know, Greco-Roman philosophy, right? They're looking for the true, the good, the beautiful. And then they're like, no, it's Jesus Christ. This is the fullness. This is the revelation. So then becomes the discussion, and this is a big discussion even today, the difference between Orthodoxy and Catholicism is the role of basically the pre-Christian philosophy and how that affects theology. Catholicism sees philosophy as the foundation of theology, and Orthodoxy says absolutely not. It's the fruit of prayer, of direct experience with God. So my question here is, you know, why would not, you know, like a black metal guy who experiences orthodoxy saying, I found the real thing, and just totally abandon the past? Because that everyone, I mean, I really think that's the question everyone asks through a conversion or a reversion is, what do we abandon? What do we hold on to? Or what do we let go of and then come back to? So that's my question, but I'm going to ask another question before that to get there. Does that make sense though? Of the first part is, well, I found the real thing. Why would I even listen to metal music anymore? Why would I even dress this way anymore? Why would I keep the posters or the zines? Why wouldn't I just totally just abandon that and then just like, I guess I'm gonna be a completely different person now that I'm Orthodox Christian, which maybe morally could be true, or spiritually. Does it necessarily have to mean that you dress completely differently or listen to different music? But before you answer that question, What is, in your opinion, the message of black metal, if there is one?
Um, I mean, the original message was anti-Christianity,
Oh, okay.
uh,
Wow.
anti anti everything. Um, Anti-society, anti-normalcy, and Protestant and Roman Catholicism, Christianity was a part of that
Mm.
and it was a part of everything that they wanted to escape from. And it kind of people will tell you, like, today, like, it's anti-Christianity at the core. And then other people tell you that it's just anti-normalcy, or it's anti the world. Other people will tell you it's only a music form. It's up in the air, and the elitists will argue till they're blue in the face or dead with you about it. But
How much do you see that as an ideology unto itself, or really just a projection of one's own unhappiness and hurt and anger, or maybe justified? Maybe they've been abused, maybe this, whatever it is, like they have a reason to be upset, to be hurt,
yeah,
to be sad, to be angry, to be frustrated, to hate the world, so to speak. But how much do you think it is just pure ideology, and how much of it is just really a personal projection of that we all encounter, just being part of the human condition?
I think it's an ideology that stems from the personal.
Mm.
Yeah,
A
how
lot
much of you think it's really just a projection of one's own just I mean, just hatred of just the situation they're in, and so they got to have a punching bag, right? So you got to just hate the world.
Right.
It could just really be about you don't like what way your dad treated you, or it couldn't be like you don't fit in and you hate that feeling, and so you
Mhm.
found a subculture of a bunch of other people who feel the same way, and then and it all goes from there. I mean, um, how much of it do you think it's personal, and how much of it is just like I don't know, like an ideology, a philosophy that no, we're against Christianity. Here are the reasons.
Right.
You know,
Um,
because it'd be easy just to kind of say, oh, this is just a projection of just, yeah, you couldn't fit in, so you found a group of people who don't fit in too, and you're going to be angry together, you know. And
right.
so
Well, there's that, but then like,
but to go into Satanism, I mean, you're in a different territory than just being, you
right,
know, sad or angry.
right.
That's it. You've gone somewhere else. So that's, I'm trying to understand the scene that
So,
you came from and how you look at it definitely now, looking back.
I came to black metal um, through the old thrashers, through death metal, and stuff like that, and the 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 voices and the crazy technical way they play,
Mhm.
and the ferocity. Is that how you say it? Ferocity. I don't know. And it's just the speed and the energy, but then at the same time, you have symphonic and atmospheric and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So as an art form, it was all over the place, just like I was, but it made sense, you know. But metal for me has always been about the speed and the, the sound, you know. Um, but for other people, I think it would be just like being in a gang or being in an MC or being in any kind of group of person. You're drawn to that because of your environment, how you grew up, you know, who is around you, and whether it's because you want to get away from those people, or whether it's because you lost those people and now you need new people, whether it's because whatever happened to you, you now can fit in, or you feel like you fit in to this scene, or this music makes sense because of whatever happened to you in your life, either good or bad. So now it's part of the soundtrack. I think a lot of people, especially kids, when they get there, they're like, "Oh yeah, Satan's cool," like, but they don't know the depths of stuff. But then there, like I said, there's legit black liturgical stuff, and people who are super serious Satanists that are in there doing it too. But there's almost 100 different subgenres of black metal. So there's a lot to pick and choose from.
Well, what I'm hearing you say, and I think it's for every form of music, is that it's really about the mood. It's more about the mood than I think the message. And I think that's why so many musicians have trouble when people go, "What's that song mean?" And they usually have a very difficult time saying, "Oh, I don't know." Or, I mean, I don't know, just listen to the music. Or you listen to fans and go, "Why do you like this band?" Or why you like the, I don't know. They almost always preface it by, "I don't know, but," and I think it's because the music sounds like how I feel. I think that's why we like certain kind of music. It's not really the lyrics, the message is part of it, but I think our first instinct is, I feel a certain way. And when you hear a certain kind of music, you're like, yes, that's exactly how I feel.
Right.
Now, then maybe you say, well, what's this about? And you kind of, if it has an ideology, because the lyrics could be pulled out of the song and it's just poetry, right? And then then you go, well, what does this mean? But even words, sometimes it's more about the wordplay or the feeling, but definitely music, I think it's about the mood. And I think the black metal, whatever it is, or punk or pop or whatever it is, it's that black metal creates music for the mood of how those people feel. And you're just drawn to it. It's easy. You don't have to try to form a community. People are just drawn to it because they're saying, that's how I feel. And they're like, yeah, man, me too. I feel that way. And then
sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes, but black metal is definitely a choice because it's worship.
Okay.
Like it's liturgical. So there are people who get into it because that's what they're about. Like that's the faith they chose. That's the religion they chose.
Yeah.
And this is their worship music. And whether it was because they hated Christianity for whatever reason, or this is just what they chose because they could, black metal is people make very serious spiritual choices.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And black metal it's religious music. Like it's not just like mainstream anything. It's not even like death metal or deathcore. It's not like any of that stuff. Black metal is liturgical worship music, whether it be pagan, like wolves or Viking or straight black liturgical stuff like Batushka or Watain or stuff like that, or whether it's old Norse magic, stuff like that. It's
okay. So if it's a religion, and I like that because this is kind of like, evangelical worlds, like youth pastors criticizing secular music, and they're saying, well, that's your religion. And then the kid would go, no, it's not. It's just music, right? And what you're saying is like, oh no, with black metal, no, this is intentional. Like you said, this is a choice. It's not just how we feel. It is how we feel, but we make life decisions. We make spiritual decisions. This is a religion. This is liturgy and this or that. Okay, so if it's a religion, what is its creed? Which is another way of asking, what's its message? What's the creed?
That I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I haven't gotten that far. I just never dove that far into it.
Mm-hmm. If I put you on the spot, what do you think it is? What do you think it is?
What do I think it is?
Yeah, Just on this off the cuff. You can recant later, but
some of it's, I mean, there's so many different forms of Satanism, and there's so many different forms of magic, and there's so many different forms of paganism. It's almost like how many forms of Protestantism there is.
Right.
So to pull out one creed and to be like, this is the umbrella creed over all black metal, I can't do that.
What would be some examples? Because, you know, most like subculture or countercultural music, I mean, there's a unity and a common enemy, right? Even if it's not like conscious, we know what we're against. But a creed says, I believe. It's not, I don't believe.
Right.
So it's understood. Yeah, we don't believe this. We don't believe that. We don't. Okay, but what do you believe? So that's what I'm saying. What would be the creed has to be a profession of what one believes, not what one doesn't believe. So
right.
In metal, what are some of those kind of positive statements? If I believe this, I believe that.
So some of them believe in witchcraft, some of them believe in Nordic magic, some of them believe in the Old Norse pagan gods, some of them believe in Levian Satanism, some of them believe in chaos magic, some of them believe in the different forms of Satanism where it's energy. Like,
Yeah.
There's so many different things. Most secular black metal is gonna all hate Christianity.
Mhm.
And like
But what does it love? Is the question. What does it love? We know what it hates. What does it love? Or is that the void that gets filled by finding the real thing?
It loves a bunch of different stuff.
Okay, because it could
like
love.
ours is easy, you know, but we love Christ. There's only one, you know, there's only one love for us, and that's the Trinity, you know, and then the Theotokos and the saints and stuff like that. But it's all one Orthodox Christianity, you know. But with Protestantism and different forms of Satanism and different forms of magic and paganism and yada yada yada, mm-hmm. There's different ideas of what's right. So there's different ideas of what they love.
All right.
A lot of them it's about self, you know, but then a lot of them it isn't. A lot of them it's about nature. You know, some of them it's about just being stupid and drinking and going out with your friends and making metal and, you know, and partying and then some of it's literally Satan. You know, some of it is just doing it because you hate Christianity, so you're going to try to learn as much as you can about it to be as blasphemous as you can. Which is funny because I have a friend that did just that, and he ended up in Orthodoxy.
yeah. Well, it's Saul, right? You learn about it to persecute, and all of a sudden there it is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. This would be a longer conversation. We'd have to have some other time, but I mean, I think this whole notion of there being a unified thing that you believe in and that you die for, and that I don't know. I think some people have that and some people don't, and some movements have that and some movements don't. But I mean, that'd be a longer conversation, and I know we got to let you go soon, man. You got a shop to run, and so. But just one last question, real quick. I mean, and this is sort of what the whole project is premised on. Like, we've got 13th Vigil, as you said. Death to the World's been doing this for a long time. We've got Punks and Monks now. We got. It seems like something's in the air. It seems like something's happening around this, whatever we say this is. I don't know. Do you feel like you're part of a broader movement, not just Orthodoxy itself, but like something happening within Orthodoxy? Do you think something's coming together, or what?
I think that I think it's just, you know, by his mercy, people like me and people like punks and monks and Orthodox logos and Outcast and I just think by his mercy, all these different types of artists are coming. And by his grace, we found Orthodoxy, or he let us find it, however the right way is to put it, I don't know. So you've got all these people from all these different walks of life, like, Father John, punk rock, punks and monks, punk rock. And I mean, I came from metal and black metal scene. And so we're bringing, we're not trying to secularize, secularize. I don't know, I haven't finished my coffee yet. I can't English good.
Everybody drink whenever you say secularize. Take a shot, y'all.
But I think we're just bringing in what we know.
Yeah.
And a good friend of mine said that, it's not that you come here and you completely change, but you stay where you were, as far as who you are. And now you take the light back to where you came from. And I think that's really, really important. I mean, it's what St. Patrick did.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people did. I think there's stuff you should certainly give up, let go of if you come from something, super fleshly, or if you come from something super evil. Like, there was a ton of stuff that I had to get rid of. That just, I knew, it wasn't necessarily overly harmful, and it wasn't like a satanic panic thing. It was just unnecessary. I didn't need it anymore. And I had to make room for all my Orthodox books, because we all have a book problem. So I had.
What do you mean a problem? What do you mean a problem?
That's a great image. That's a great image, actually. I love that. Right? It's like you got to make room.
It's true. It's true. I'm reading like 5 books at once. But I mean, Orthodoxy changes you from the inside, and it might not necessarily make its way to the outside, but you change, your heart changes, your spirit changes, your mind changes. Mm-hmm. Everything about you changes, and where you came from just slowly doesn't matter anymore.
And who knows what God will use, right? From the inside outside, God can and does use all of that in ways we can see it, in ways we don't.
Like, I don't know if King David doesn't know, his ways, then surely the barber doesn't know. Definitely higher. But I got a brother of mine, he's a Navy SEAL, and he's like, every time the Lord tells me something to do, if I like it or not, I just say yes, sir.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang. It's pretty straightforward. So I try to live by that. Definitely, I test the spirits to see where they come from. But it's always like okay, I'm gonna do this. Whatever it is you want, But I never really rushed out to change every little thing about me. I got away from darkness, a lot. Basically what all I was taking in, I tried to remove a lot of that. that was dark, just because it wasn't necessary and there were no benefits to it, you know. So
Like, well, I got to tell you, man, and this is, by way of wrapping up, because I know we got to let you go, but I mean, sales are one thing, but I see 13th Vigil now popping up, not only like people who I know are really on the quest, people who I know are really serious about this, they're finding something in your work like that. I see them like, oh, check out this new shirt I got from 13th Vigil and so on. I mean, it's, and you were talking earlier about the size of orthodoxy, the 4K ultra. I mean, I think you've been that for me, partly because you're pulling on saints. I mean, we've all got our kind of greatest hit saints, right? We have and figures, we have Father Rose, we have Saint George, but I mean, you're pulling out deep cuts in terms of like saints that I've never heard of, stories that I've never heard of, and it's one thing to tell the story, but I mean, you're showing it to us, through this art. It's almost like, what's the saint collection? A Synaxarion? Is that what that's called?
Yeah.
It's almost becoming like a Synaxarion of sorts, like what you're doing. And I've been inspired by it. I think a lot of other people have too. So thank you for everything that you're doing with this. And thanks for your time today.
I don't do, man, I sit at home and I watch YouTube Orthodox stuff and I read Orthodox stuff. Like it just consumes me.
Yeah. Well, it's no, what you're doing is making a difference. So thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for sitting down with us. And blessings on you, brother. All right.